My spirit will not denounce humankind forever, for this reason, that they are flesh, and their days will be 120 years. Jehovah said, my spirit will not denounce humankind forever. Means that people would no longer be led in the same way. For this reason, that they are flesh means because they became body-centered. And the days will be 120 years means that they ought to have traces of faith left. And it is a prophecy about the church to come. The meaning of Jehovah said, my spirit will not denounce humankind forever, as the fact that people would no longer be led in the same way can be seen from context. Prior context shows that people developed their character described there by merging religious teachings or truth with their own desires to the point where they could no longer be shown the error of their ways or see what was evil. All ability to perceive truth and goodness was snuffed out by their self-deceptions, since the only things they believed true were those that conformed with their theories, was snuffed.
Snuffed.
It's like finish in this sense. Maybe.
Snuffed.
Yeah. Goodness was snuffed out by their self-deception. Snuffed. Subsequent context will show that people in the church changed after the flood. What arose in them to take the place of perception was conscience, by which they could be rebuked. So the denunciation.
Denunciation.
It's like condemnation, termination, accusation. So the denunciation by Jehovah's Spirit symbolizes an inner voice, either perception of conscience, and Jehovah's Spirit itself symbolizes truth and goodness flowing in. Isaiah 2 says, I will not press my quarrel forever. I will not rage eternally, since the Spirit would be overwhelmed before me, and I made their souls overwhelmed, amazed, broken.
What I reading? Is it the Bible?
This passage is from Bible, but this book is not Bible. It's a book of Emanuel Swedenborg, Secrets of Heaven. Do you see this book?
Yeah,
You
I
can
see.
read this book. It's about spiritual meaning of Bible, but actually it's not about Bible. It's like about mind and matrix, maybe like this. Because it's Swedenborg. Swedenborg wrote about spiritual things like this.
Okay.
If you want, You can read too. Next.
I can try.
Yeah, you can go from this section 574. The symbolism of flesh from this.
This is but okay. The symbolism of flesh as the fact that people became body-centered is established by the symbolism of flesh in the word. Where it is taken to mean both every person in general and a body-centered one in particular. Flesh is understood as implying all people. In Joel, I will pour out my spirit on all flesh, and your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Joel.
Prophesy. Prophesy.
Prophesy. What does that mean, prophesy?
Prophesy. It means to say about future like this,
Prophesy.
like predict, broadcast, foretell. This
Hmm.
word
Foretell.
foretell, like to talk about future, like prophets. Do you know who are prophets?
Prophesy, I know, but prophesy is a verb, okay.
Yeah, prophets prophesy like.
I got it, I understood.
Mhm, mhm.
The flesh stands for people, the spirit for the flesh stands for people, the spirit for truth and goodness flowing from the Lord. In David, hearer of prayers, to you will all flesh come. Psalm 65. He flesh stands for all people. Jeremiah. Cursed will the man be who trusts in humankind and uses flesh as his arm. Flesh stands for people, the arm for power in I don't know. So
Ezekiel.
what the how to
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel? Who is that guy?
Mhm.
Like is it some
It's
I
it's
just
it's a prophet from the Bible, like prophet of God.
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel
It's like
prophet.
Bible has 66 books, and it's one of books of Bible. And this is a book of this prophet Ezekiel.
You said 66?
Yeah, 66 books in the Bible, and every and this is one of books in this book of that prophet Ezekiel. Book of Ezekiel, actually.
Ezekiel, okay. So that all flesh will know Ezekiel. I
And
guess I'm
Zechariah is a prophet too.
correct.
It's another book from the
Oh,
Bible.
okay,
Zechariah.
then так. Be silent, all flesh before. I wanna stop reading. I will listen if I can. Okay.
Jehovah. Okay. Here, flesh stands for all people. Flesh is understood as particularly implying a body centered person in Isaiah. The Egyptian is human and not God, and the horses are flesh and not spirit. This stands for the fact that their knowledge was limited in the bodily level, to the bodily level. Horses here and elsewhere in the word stand for the rational level. In the same author, they will withdraw to the right and be hungry, and will eat on the left and not get enough. They will each eat the flesh of their own arm. Flesh stands here for the things that are our own, which are all on the bodily level, in the same author. From soul to flesh he shall consume it all. The flesh stands for bodily preoccupations, in the same author. The glory of Jehovah will be revealed, and all flesh will see it together. A voice says, "Shout." And he said, "What shall I shout? All flesh is grass." Flesh stands for all body oriented people, in the same author. Jehovah will argue his case by fire, and argue it with all flesh by his sword. And the number of those stabbed by Jehovah will multiply. Stabbed.
Stabbed.
It's like wound pierced. Fire stands for punishment inflicted on corrupt desire, the sword for punishment inflicted on falsity, and the flesh for bodily preoccupations. In David, God remembered that they were flesh and spirit wandering, never to return. This is about the people in the wilderness craving flesh or meat, describing them as body-centered. Their yearning for flesh represented the fact that they desired only bodily rewards. The days of humankind will be 120 years, means that they ought to have traces of faith left. In verses 3 and 4 in the last chapter, I said that days and years symbolize those times and states, and that the earliest people used different combinations of numbers to symbolize the state of the church and changes in that state. But the method of calculating numbers for the affairs of the church is part of the knowledge that has been lost. Likewise, in the present verse, the number of years comes up, and no one can have any idea what the numbers mean without knowing what significance lies hidden in the individual numbers from 1 to 12 and beyond. It is obvious that they involve some other hidden meaning, since a lifespan, spawn maybe, spawn.
Span.
No, it's like period, span. A lifespan of 120 years is inconsistent with earlier verses. People in later times did not live a mere 120 years either, as can be seen from those living after the flood. Chapter 11 says of Shem that he lived 500 years after fathering Aprachhat. That Arprachhat lived 403 years after fathering Shelah. That Shelah also lived 403 years after fathering Eber, and that Eber lived 430 years after fathering Peleg. Chapter 9, verse 28 says that Noah lived 350 years after the flood, and so on. When the number 120 involves can be seen only from its factors 10 and 12. To be specific, it symbolizes remaining traces of faith. In the word, the number 10 and tenth of tithes as well symbolizes and represents a remnant preserved by the Lord in the inner self. The remnant being, sorry, what? The remnant being holy because it belongs to the Lord alone. The number 12 symbolizes faith, or all aspects of faith taken as a whole. The number compounded out of these symbolizes a remnant of faith. The following places establish the fact that 10, like a tenth, symbolizes a remnant. In Isaiah, many houses will become desolate, large, beautiful ones without any inhabitant. Since 10 acres of vineyard,
Acres.
acres. Since 10 acres, like acres maybe, acres of vineyard will yield a single bath. Mhm. It's like basin, bath. And the sowing of a homer will yield an ephah. It's like it's about measuring. This concerns the devastation of spiritual and heavenly qualities. 10 acres of vineyard will yield a bath stands for the fact that so few traces of any spiritual quality remain. The sowing of a homer will yield an ephah stands for the fact that so few traces of any heavenly quality remain. Traces, in this sense, few traces, yeah.
Traces.
Yeah, like print, tracing. In the same author, when the great portion will be abundant in the middle of the land, but a tenth will remain there and be converted. Yet they are destined for eradication. Eradication. It's like, yeah, extermination.
Eradication.
Eradication.
Extermination.
Extermination. Eradication. The middle of the land stands for the inner self, and the tenth part for so small a remnant. In Ezekiel, you shall have honest scales and an honest ephah and an honest bath. The measure of an ephah and of a bath will be the same, so that a bath may hold a tenth of a homer and an ephah a tenth of a homer. The measure will be according to the homer, and the statue for the oil, the bath for oil is a tenth of a bath out of core, 10 bath being a homer for 10 bath a homer. Actually, it's about measuring. This discusses holy attributes of Jehovah in terms of measures, which symbolize different categories of sacred qualities. 10 here symbolizes a remnant of heavenly traits. What is it? Traits.
Traits.
Character trait like this. It's like character. Heavenly traits and the spiritual traits and grow out of them. What would be the point of all these measures and the numbers that specify them? Specify or specify.
Specify.
Indicate, like specify them if they did not contain some hidden sacred significance. This applies to chapter 45 of Ezekiel and earlier chapters dealing with the heavenly Jerusalem and the new temple, to other prophets as well, and to various rituals in the Jewish religion. In Amos, the Virgin of Israel has fallen. She will not rise again. This is what the Lord Jehovah has said. The city going out as 1,000 will leave a remnant of 100, and the one going out as 100 will leave a remnant of 10 for the house of Israel. Here a remnant is mentioned, of which the smallest part will remain, since it is only a tenth part, or in other words, a remnant of a remnant. In the same author, Jacob's pride and his palaces I hate, and I will shut up the city and its abundance. And it will happen that if 10 men have been left in one house, they will die. 10 stands for the remnant which will hardly last in Moses. Neither an Ammonite nor a Moabite will come into Jehovah's assembly. Not even the 10th generation of them shall ever come into Jehovah's assembly. The Ammonite and Moabite stand for profanation of the heavenly and spiritual attributes of faith, the remnants of which were discussed earlier. The fact that tithes represent remaining traces can be seen from the discussion above. They are treated of this way in Malaki. Treated. Yeah, treated. It's like treated bad.
Treated.
Yeah, treated like. Mhm. Treated. Bring all tithes to the treasure house to be plundered in my house, and let them test me, please, in this. If I do not open to you the floodgates of heaven and pour out on you a blessing. To be plundered in my house stands for the remnant in our inner self. The remnant is compared to plunder because it is tucked, tucked, tucked away.
Tucked.
Tucked. It's like hide away. Mhm. Tucked away among all our evils and falsities, so to speak. Through the remnant come all blessings. All feeling of charity in us too comes by way of the remnant in our inner self. This was represented in the religion of the Jews by their giving to the Levite, the immigrant, the orphan, and the widow after they had paid their tithes, and Deuteronomy and following verses. Since the remnant is the Lord's alone, tithes are described as holy to Jehovah, as in Moses. A tithe of the land, from the seed of the land, from the fruit of the tree, they will be Jehovah's, holy to Jehovah. And tithe of herd and flock, everything that passes under their shepherd's crook, a tithe will be holy to Jehovah. The Decalogue was the 10 Commandments, or the 10 words which Jehovah wrote on tablets, Deuteronomy 10:4, and they symbolize the remnant. The fact that they were written by Jehovah's hand symbolizes that the remnant is the Lord's alone. The fact that they reside in the inner self was represented by the tablets. The symbolism of 12 as faith, or as the properties of love and so of faith taken as a whole, can also be demonstrated by many phenomena in the word. The 12 sons of Jacob and their names, the 12 tribes of Israel, and the Lord's 12 disciples. But this will be covered later by the Lord's divine mercy, especially in chapters 29 and 30 of Genesis. These numbers alone indicate that the Lord's word holds at heart in its inner recesses, recesses, ah,
Recesses.
recesses. I knew this word. Recesses. It's like cash. Recesses, inner recesses. What secret treasures lie hidden there, completely invisible to the naked eye, but present throughout the whole. Each word hides similar ministries. Remarks to be made below about the pre-flood people.
Mysteries.
What's the word?
Mysteries.
Mysteries. Mysteries. Yeah. I said. How did I say?
Mysteries.
Mysteries. Mysteries.
Mysteries.
Mysteries. Remarks to be made below about the pre-flood people under discussion here will show, with the Lord's divine mercy, that they had few, if any, remaining traces of goodness and truth, because these traces could not be preserved in them. A prediction appears here concerning a new church called Noah that would have a remnant. This remnant, too, with the Lord's divine mercy, will be described below. Hello, everyone. Who wants to read next verse? Genesis 6:4.
I read
Go ahead.
Genesis 6:4. The Nephilim were in the land, in those days and for a very long time after the sons of God went into the daughters of humankind, who bore children to them. These were mighty men who for ages had been men with a name. The Nephilim symbolized those who placed no value on anything holy or true because of delusions about their own importance and superiority. For a very long time after the sons of God went in, the daughters of humankind who bore children to them means that they became so at the point when they merged the teachings about faith with their
Appetite.
appetites and convince themselves of false ideas. They are called mighty men from their love for themselves. For ages, they have been men with a name means that they have been like this before as well. The symbolism of the Nephilim as those who place no value on anything holy or true because of delusions about their own importance and superiority can be seen from what appears above and just below. Specifically, it says that they merge doctrinal teachings with their appetites. The symbolic meaning of the two statements that the sons of God went into the daughters of humankind and that they bore children to them. People's delusions about themselves and their fantasies grow as they were amassed more and more contributing arguments until finally those delusions become permanent. And when they drag the religious teachings in, they develop the most rigid point of view.
Rigid.
Rigid.
Rigid or rigid or rigid? Let's
Rigid.
rigid.
Ri- uh,
You said rigid, yeah?
yeah. Can you
Ri-
say it again? I think it's
Rigid. It's rigid.
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 Like hard, solid, inflexible.
Mhm. Thanks.
Rigid.
Rigid point of view, which causes them to completely discount the value of anything holy or true, making themselves into Nephilim. The tribe of people who lived before the flood is such as described above. Every spirit they meet, no matter who, they choke to death with the most horrendous delusions, which flood out from them like a poisonous, suffocating fog. They struggle those spirits so effectively that the spirits forget how to think and seem to themselves to be half dead. Had the Lord, by his coming into the world, not freed the world of spirits from such a venomous tribe as that, not a single spirit could have survived there. This would have meant that the end of the human race, which the Lord governs through spirits. As a result, they now are
Strangle. What is strangle? Strangle.
Strangle.
It's like
choke, suffocate.
yeah, it's like suffocate too. It's about poisonous, suffocating fog. It struggle like they strangle like suffocate those spirits. As a result, they now are
What's the kept in a hell below?
mhm,
A kind of boulder, massive and shrouded, shrouded
shra-
or shrouded,
shrouded. What is shrouded? Mm,
Shrouded.
it's like enveloped, covered, sheltered,
covered.
shrouded, like hidden. hmm hide, shrouded, and
Shroud,
boulder. It's like uh,
Boulder.
it's like
lump,
stone
rock,
block,
stone.
rubble, stone block, rock,
Boulder.
boulder.
Shrouded in mist. Under the heel of the left foot, they make no attempt to rise up out of the place, leaving the world of spirits free of their extremely hostile crowd. This crowd and the toxic effect of their persuasions will be spoken of in another place. Lord, in his divine mercy, allow it. These are the ones called Nephilim, who place no value on anything.
Shrouded in mist. What is mist? Ah,
Mist.
it's fog. It's fog
Fog.
too.
Dark.
Like whales, fog. On anything holy or true.
Holy or true. Though the word does call them Nephilim, it refers to their descendants as Anakim and Rep, Repha,
Rephaim.
Repha, Repha,
Mhm.
Rephaim,
Rephaim, I
right?
think.
Rephaim.
Rephaim is, yeah, I think it's
Refame.
Rephaim. Maybe Rephaim. Yeah, Rephaim. Rephaim, yeah.
Okay. Reframe. The following passage is Moses shows that they are called Anakim. Those who scouted out the land of
Canaan.
Canaan said, there we saw the Nephilim, the children of Anak from the Nephilim, among the Nephilim, and in our eyes we were like locusts, and we were the same in their eyes. Moses also shows that they were called Rephaim. The Emim previously lived in the land of Moab,
Moab.
Moab, a people large and numerous and tall like the Anakim. They them they themselves
Anakim, maybe. Anakim.
Anakim.
Anakim, yeah, correct.
were accounted as Rephaim, like the Anakim and the Moab
Mo- Moabites.
Mo- Moabites.
I knew this word. Yeah, it's Moabites.
Moabites called them Emim. The Nephilim are not mentioned anywhere else, but the Rephaim are, and the prophets describe them in the same way. Isaiah says, hell below trembled before you, coming to meet you. He stirred up the Rephaim for you. This is about hell, where such people are, in the same order. The dead will not live, the Rephaim will not rise, because you inflicted punishment on them and destroy them and wipe out all memory of them. Here, too, the subject is their hell, from which they will no longer arise. Again, in the same author, your dead will live, my corpse, they will rise again. Wake up and sing, you who live in the dirt, because your dew is the dew on the vegetation, but
Do you know what is dew?
dew, dew,
Dew.
dew.
Dew is like drops of water on grass in morning like this. Dew.
Jew.
Dew,
Dew.
dew.
Like it's like about water on grass in morning like this. You can see dew. Do you see dew on the vegetation? Actually, do you understand? Or I can show the picture if if you want.
No, no,
If you
it's
don't,
okay.
do you understand this word? Yeah, dew.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The land of the Rephaim you will cast out. The land of Rephaim is hell, which is what this verse describes. In David, will you do a miracle for the dead? Will the Rephaim arise? Will they acclaim you? This likewise deals with their hell and the fact that they cannot rise up to poison the atmosphere in the world of spirits with their dreadful persuasions. The Lord, however, provided that the human race would no longer steep itself in such appalling fantasies and delusions. The people who lived before the flood had a nature and physic. Is it physic
Yeah, physics,
or
nature, and physics. It's like nature, and it's about physics and
Psyche.
it's
what?
psyche.
Psyche? Okay.
Yeah, it's not physics. Physical world. I thought it's like physical world, but physical world maybe writes in different way. But psyche, it's about soul, psychology, for example, psychology. Do you know this
Mentality.
psychology?
Psyche.
Psychology. Yeah,
So
it's
it's
about
uh,
psyche,
okay.
like
Psychic.
psychic, spiritual. Yeah, psych. Yeah,
Psychological.
psychological.
Hmm.
It's like doctor. Psychology is like this. Psyche.
Okay. And psyche that enable them to absorb such twisted thinking. The reason is not yet known to anyone but will be divulged below by the
Divulged.
divulge.
Divulged.
Divulged.
Divulged. Divulge. Like disclose. It's like to say anything. Anything. hmm Allowed. Disclose.
Disclose.
hmm By the Lord's.
By the Lord's divine mercy. After the sons of God went in to the daughters of humankind, who bore children to them, means that at the point when they merge the teachings about faith with their corrupt desires, they become Nephilim. This
Became.
mean became Nephilim. This meaning can be seen from what was stated and demonstrated just above at verse 2. The sons of God symbolize the teachings of faith, and daughters symbolize desire. The child born from this combination is nothing but the practice of viewing the holy attributes of faith as worthless and profaning them. Our cravings, which spring from self love and materialism, are diametrically opposed to everything holy and true. They have the upper hand in us, so that when we acknowledge something as holy and true and then submerge it in
Submerge.
Submerge.
It's like sink.
immerse
Yeah, go underwater. Submerge. Submerge in it.
our
It in.
desires,
mhm.
it it our
It in.
desires, our doom is sealed, since those desires cannot be uprooted and dissolved. They cling to every idea we have, and ideas are the means of communication people have with each other in the next life. Consequently, as soon as the suggestion of something holy and true comes up, immediately and directly the profanation of falsity attached to it is perceived. Such people then simply must be separated and forced down into
Mhm. Immediately or immediately? I think it's you said
Immediately.
immediately, yeah?
Yeah.
Immediately. Immediately.
Immediately. But maybe some people like say like immediate because she says like immediately, but actually immediately, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Immediately.
Maybe in
Later.
dictionary pronunciation. Let's see. Maybe it's like American.
Immediately.
Immediately, yeah, immediately. Mhm. Immediately. Mhm. Mhm. You have read it, yeah? This page.
Yeah. Yeah. I already
Mhm.
finished. Down in
Doom.
uh,
I forgot what is doom.
Doom.
Doom. Doom.
death.
Death. Fate, destiny.
Fate.
Doom. Down into hell.
The fact that the Nephilim are called mighty men from their love for themselves, can be seen in many places in the Word, where such a people are referred to as strong. In Jeremiah, for instance, the mighty of Babylon stop fighting. They sit in their strongholds. Their might fails. They have turned into women. The mighty of Babylon stand for those who have fallen into the trap of self-love. In the same author, a sword against liars, and they will lose their minds. A sword against its mighty, and they will feel dismay.
How to pronounce this word?
Author.
Author.
Auth-
Author. Author.
author,
Author.
author,
Author.
Transcription is like first letter is O.
awe,
Author.
Author. Author. Mm. Feel dismay. Feel dismay.
dismay, like
Dismay.
Fright. Terror.
confusion.
Horror. Confusion. It's like to be frightened. Dismay.
In the same author, I saw they were dismayed and turned back. Their mighty were crushed. They fled madly and did not look back. Terror all around, and swift will not flee nor the mighty escape. Go up, horses, and run mad. Chariots,
Chariots. It's
let your
like
might.
carrot. Ca-
Oh, oh yeah.
Carrot. Mm.
Let your mighty ones live. Is it Kush? Kush.
Maybe Kush. Let's see.
And I don't know what's the meaning of it, actually.
It's
Kush.
it's a name. Kush.
It's a
It's
name.
like it's a name. It's like pro, proper name. hmm
How is it pronounced?
Cash.
Kush.
Transcripts. Do you see transcription? Cash.
Kush.
Oh,
Cash. Like Kush. Cash. Cash. Like this. Cash.
alright.
Cash.
Kush. Put and
Pot.
is
Put
it
a
pot
pot.
or put?
Put.
Put. Put.
Put.
And Lydians.
And
Lydian.
Lydians.
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 Lydians. Like nation. In Middle East.
This is about using rationalization to delude oneself in the same author. How can you say we are mighty ones and men strong in war? Moab has been devastated. In the same author, the city was captured, as were its fortifications. It was occupied, and the heart of the mighty of Moab on that day become like the heart of a woman in agony. Jeremiah, I think it's second verse, or shall I continue?
No, it's a
It's a
verse.
continuation.
No, it's not next verse.
Okay.
It's
Jeremiah
like
4.
it's reference.
Okay. Jeremiah 49:22. Similarly mentions the heart of the mighty of, is it Edom?
Edom,
Edom.
Edom, the name.
Edom.
Adam, like Adam. Adam.
All right.
Adam.
Edom.
Not Edom, but Adam.
All right.
Mhm.
Edom in the same author. Jehovah has ransomed Jacob and won him back from the hand of one mightier than he. This passage uses a different word for mighty. It can be seen in Moses that the Anakim were offspring of the Nephilim were described as strong. You are crossing the Jordan today, arriving to take possession of nations larger than, more numerous and than you, of cities large and fortified to the sky, of a people large and tall. The children of the Anakim, you know, and you have heard, who will stand up to the children of the Anakim.
Thank you. Next verse, Genesis 6:5. Maybe someone wants to read too.
Vivi, you read.
Okay, I'll read. Mhm. Genesis 6:5. And Jehovah saw that the evil of the people in the land multiplied, and everything that the thoughts of their hearts fabricated was nothing but evil every day. Jehovah saw that the evil of the people in the land multiplied means that the will for good began to disappear. Every fabrication of the thoughts of their hearts was nothing but evil every day means that there was no perception of truth or goodness. The evil of the people in the land multiplied means that the will for good began to disappear, as can be seen from what was said above. The true will no longer existed, but only desire. And the same meaning can also be seen from the symbolism of the people in the land. At the literal level, the land is where the people are. On an inner plane, it is where love is, and since love is a matter of will or else of desire, the land is taken to mean human will itself. It is willing that makes a person human, and not so much knowing and understanding, since knowing and understanding derive from willing. Anything that fails to flow out of our will is something we do not want to know or understand. In fact, when we speak and act at variance with our will, variance.
Sorry to interrupt, but what book is this?
One sec.
Variance.
Variance. It's the book of Manuel Swedenborg, Secrets of Heaven.
Uh-huh.
This is this book you can see.
Okay.
And if you want to read, you can read next verse in your turn. Variance with our will, it is still a form of will on one far removed from our words and deeds that controls us. The land of Canaan, the Holy Land, is taken to stand for love, and so far the will of a heavenly type of person, as many passages from the Word can prove. The same is true for the fact that the lands of various nations stand for the love in the hearts of those peoples, generally love for oneself self and for worldly gain. But the term occurs so many times that there is no room to spend the time on it here. All of this leads to the conclusion that the evil of the people in the land symbolizes evil on the earthly level, present in the will. It is said to have multiplied because it was not completely sinister. Sinister. What's this?
Sinister.
Sinister like evil. Scary. Disastrous.
Disastrous.
Disastrous. Sinister in everyone. There were some who still wished good to others, although for selfish reasons. It's thorough corruption. What is thorough? Thorough.
Thorough.
Thorough. Thorough.
Thorough.
Thorough. It's like thorough, like careful. Thorough. It's thorough corruption is what the thoughts of the heart fabricated. What the thousands of their heart fabricated was nothing but evil every day means that there was no perception of goodness or truth, because people immersed the teachings of faith in their filthy cravings, as has been said and shown. When this happened, all perception died out, and in its place came monstrous convictions of the most entrenched and fatal delusions. Fatal. Fatal. Fatal.
Fatal.
Fatal, yeah, it's about fate. Fatal delusions and entrenched.
Entrenched.
Entrenched, it's like rooted. Rooted. Hardened. Entrenched.
Entrenched.
Entrenched and fatal delusions. These were the cause of their extinction. Extinction.
Extinction.
Extinction. It's like death. Extinction. Dying. Extinction through suffocation. Suffocating. Suffocating, yeah. Suffocation.
Suffocation.
Suffocation. Through suffocation. Such death-dealing persuasions. 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 Persuasions.
Persuasions.
Persuasions are symbolized here by what the thoughts of their heart invented, like invitation, invented, inventation or invitation, like this.
Invented.
No, it's not invitation. Invitation, it's like invent. Invent, it's like develop something. To invent. Compose, create. Invent. Of their heart invented. When what the heart fabricates is mentioned without the thoughts, it symbolizes the evil connected with self-love or with desire. An instance occurs in chapter 8 below, where after Noah had made burnt offerings, Jehovah said, I will never again curse the ground on the human beings account, because what people's hearts fabricate is evil from their youth. A fabrication is what we make up in our own minds and persuade ourselves is true. In Habakkuk, for instance, what uses sculptor? What uses a sculptor? For its fabricator sculpted it, a cast image, and that which teaches a lie. For the fabricator trusts in his fabrication and in the making of mute idols. A sculptor symbolizes false persuasions based on premises we have conceived and hatched from our own minds. Fabricators are those who persuade themselves of the ideas described as fabrications. In Isaiah, "O your upside downness." Upside downness. "O your upside downness."
Upside downers.
Upside downness. It's like figure of speech, upside downness. Will the potter be considered clay because the product says to its maker, "That one did not make me," and the fabrication said to its fabricator, "That one did not understand me"? A fabrication may be fabricating. Fabrication. Fabrication.
Fabrication.
Fabrication. A fabrication here stands for self-centered thinking and the resulting conviction that falsity is true. In general, a fabrication or design is what we make up out of our heart or our will, and also out of our thoughts or persuasions. An example in David. Jehovah knows our fabrication. He remembers that we are dust. In Moses, I know the designs that they are forming today before I bring them into the land. Who is next?
Hey, Swedenborg. I have a question.
Go ahead.
So are you reading a literary like a book from Sweden or what?
It's a book of Swedenborg. It is a family. It's like a last name. Emmanuel is the first name.
Okay.
Swedenborg is the last name. Author
Jaha.
of this book.
And then yes, because I am Swedish, so.
I think maybe have you heard about Emmanuel Swedenborg? He is a very famous person, and he was a baron, and the king of Sweden loved Emmanuel Swedenborg.
Okay.
Trust him.
Okay.
He's a genius, and he has third highest IQ in history. That because his books are very smart and wise.
Okay.
Do you want to read? Maybe.
Can
I read?
Go ahead.
Okay. Genesis. Jehovah was sorry that he had made humankind on the earth, and he grieved to himself at heart. He was sorry symbolized mercy. He grieved at heart has the same symbolism. Regret has to do with wisdom, grieving at heart with love. The symbolism of Jehovah was sorry that he had made humankind on the earth, and of his grief at heart as mercy can be concluded from the fact that Jehovah never has regrets. After all, he foresees absolutely everything from eternity when he made humankind, that is, when he when he created people anew and perfected them into heavenly people. He also foresaw that the race would gradually become what it did. Since he saw this ahead, he could not have changed his mind, as is plain in Samuel Samuel, who said, "The undefeated one of the Israel does not lie and will not be sorry, since he is not a human that he should be sorry." And in Moses, God is not a man and tells lies, or the offspring of humankind and has regrets. Has he said a thing and will not do it, or spoken and will not secure it? But regretting or feeling sorry symbolized having mercy. Jehovah's mercy, the Lord's mercy, involve each and everything the Lord does for the human race. Humankind's nature is such that the Lord has mercy on us and on each of us according to our circumstances. So he has mercy on the state of one whom he permits to be punished and the state of one to whom he grants good fortune. Punishment is an act of mercy because mercy bans all the evil involved in punishment to go to good
Good.
ends. Yeah, to good ends. To grant good fortune is also an act of mercy because we never earn any kind of good. The whole human race is evil, and left to ourselves, we all plug into hell. To put to pull us back out of hell, then is mercy, and pure mercy at that, since the Lord does not need anyone. Mercy is called mis. How to pronounce it?
It's Latin, in Latin, misericordia. I don't know. Misericordia.
Misericord or Latin. Okay, because
Mhm.
it removes us from the miseries of hell. It is the reform name in relation to the human race, which
Mhm. Uh, uh, let's check this word because you said like plank. Plank. I think it's plunge, maybe. Yeah.
plunge.
Plunge.
Yeah, plunge. It's like dive.
Yeah,
Plunge.
the plunge. Okay. Is miserable and is the effect of love for all people because they are miserable. But the Lord is said to feel regrets and to grieve at heart because these activities seem to lie at the core of all human mercy. The language of this passage, like that of many others in the Word, goes along with the appearance, the true nature of the Lord's mercy to one known. No, because it infinitely transcends all human comprehensions. But the nature of our own mercy we recognize, and that nature is to feel sorry and to grieve. If we did not form an idea of mercy for some others, feeling whose nature we do recognize, we could not think or learn anything about it at all. This is why human traits are frequently used to describe Jehovah's attributes, or in other words, the laws. For instance, Jehovah the Lord is said to punish, lead into destroy,
Crisis.
okay, lead into crisis, destroy, and burn with anger. When the truth is that he never punishes anyone, never in never inflicts trouble on anyone, never destroy anyone, and never burns with anger. Because such claims are indeed made about the Lord, then it follows that regret and grief are also attributed to him, since the one claim is a result of the other. This can be clearly seen from the following places. The word in Ezekiel, my anger will be fulfilled. I will put my wrath to rest.
Wrath.
And
Wrath.
wrath,
Wrath.
Rough.
oh,
Wrath.
okay,
No,
wrath,
like
Rough.
wrath is
wrath.
transcription like wrath. Like anger,
Okay,
rage.
okay, wrath to rest, and I will relent Since this was ascribes,
Ascribes.
ascribes,
Ascribes like
ascribes,
to
Ascribes.
write
ascribes.
off. Mhm. Write off.
Okay,
Write off.
okay,
Ascribes.
okay. Since this was ascribes angle and rough to him, it also speaks of him as relenting in Zechariah, just as I thought to do evil when your ancestors arose.
Relent. I forgot this word. Relent.
Relent.
It's like have mercy. Soften.
Okay, relent. Okay,
Give way. Relent.
yeah. Anger in me. Jehovah Sabaoth has said.
Sabaoth.
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 Okay, Sabaoth has said, and I did not relent. So in turn, waiting in those days to do good to Jerusalem and to the house of Judah. It says here that Jehovah thought to do evil when in reality he never thinks to do evil to anyone but good to each and every person. In Moses, when Moses entreated Jehovah, turn back from the wrath of your anger and relent from the evil for your people. And Jehovah relented from the evil that he had said he would do to his people. Here too wrath and anger are attributed to Jehovah, and he is therefore said to have relented in Jonah. The king of Nineveh said, "Who knows? Perhaps
King of Nineveh, like this. It's the city.
Nineveh.
King of Nineveh.
Nineveh."
Nineveh.
Okay, Nineveh. Okay, the king of Nineveh said, "Who knows? Perhaps God will turn the relent to turn back from the heat of his anger, and he will not be destroyed." Once again, he is said to relent because he is said to have been angry. A change of heart has come over me. At the same time, my regrets have burned. I will not carry out the wrath of my anger. This too speaks of his heart and the regrets burning there, just as the verse under discussion says that he grieved at, at heart. The regrets clearly stand for great mercy. Likewise in Joel, turn back to Jehovah your God, since he is indulgent.
Indulgent. I forgot this. What is it? Indulgent.
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 Indulgent, like tolerant.
Okay.
Tolerant.
Okay, tolerant. Okay. He is indulgent and compassionate, patient, and abounding in mercy, and regretful over evil. In this place, as the regret plainly symbolizes mercy in Jeremiah. If perhaps they listen and turn back a man from his uh, wicked way, I regret the evil. Having regret stands for having mercy in the same author. If that nation turns back from its evil, I will relent from evil. Again, relenting stands for having mercy. If they turn back, we are the ones who turns away from the Lord's mercy. The Lord never turns away from us. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Once maybe okay, I will continue. Those and many other passages in the Word shows that it speaks according to human appearances. Anyone who wants to use the appearances in which the statements of the word are couched to support false premises will have an unlimited supply to choose from. But using the word to prove false assumptions is very different from taking the word at face value. Assumptions, false assumptions like conclusion, I think.
Assumptions.
It's like supposition, hypothesis.
Hypothesis.
Hypothesis. Assumption. It's very different from taking the word at face value. Those who confirm false assumptions start by seizing on a principle that they refuse over to relinquish, maybe relinquish or relinquish,
Relinquish.
relinquish like leave, abandon, surrender.
Relinquish.
Relinquish. To relinquish or even partially, to retract, partially like this.
Partially.
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 Partially like partly. Partially.
Partly.
Partly. Partially. To retract.
Retract.
Retract, like reject. Take back. Partly, or even partially. Partly to retract. Instead, they scrape together, scrape.
Scrape.
Like scratch. Scraping. Scraping. They scrape together and pile up proofs from every available source, including the word, until they have so thoroughly convinced themselves of their premise that they can no longer see the truth. Those who take the word at face value, however, or who believe it with a simple heart, do not start by taking hold of a principle, but think, since the Lord said it, it is true. And if they are taught how to understand it by the use of other passages from the Word, they yield to it with joy in their hearts. It does not harm to believe in all simplicity. Simplicity is like simple, I think. Yeah.
Simplicity.
Simplicity is like innocence, simplistic. Simplicity. Easy. That the Lord is angry, punishes, relents, or grieves, and that we should accordingly fear evil and do good, because it leads to the belief that the Lord sees everything large and small. Once committed to this belief, we receive enlightenment in all other areas during the next life, if not before. The case is very different with those who deluge themselves, deluge themselves.
Delude.
It's like deceive, mislead. Who delude, who delude themselves with their cherished assumptions, cherished.
Cherished.
It's like respected, cherished. Assumptions helped alone by vile self-love and greed. Assumptions. supposition, assumptions, cherished assumptions, helped along by vile,
Vile.
like disgusting, self-love and greed. The fact that regret has to do with wisdom and heartfelt grief with love cannot be explained clearly to people's understanding. It can only be explained in terms of human experience and so in terms of appearances. Every concept in our thinking contains something of both intellect and will. To put it another way, it contains something of thought and of love for that thought. If an idea does not draw to some extent on the will or on love in the will, it is not an idea because without love we cannot think. There is a kind of marriage perpetual and inviolable. What is it? Inviolable.
Inviolable.
Inviolable. Mhm. Inviolable like untouchable. Inviolable.
Untouchable.
Untouchable is about touching. Inviolable. And thought, between thought, inviolable between thought and will. So the contents of the will or the objects of love in the will are present within the ideas that make up our thinking or are at least attached to them. From this human experience, it seems more or less possible to know, or rather to grasp in some measure, what lies at the heart of the Lord's mercy, wisdom, and love. As a result, the prophets, especially Isaiah, almost everywhere use two terms for every concept, one involving a spiritual quality and the other a heavenly one. The spiritual aspect of the Lord's mercy is wisdom, and its heavenly aspect is love. Next verse. Who wants to read? Who is next?
I read
Go ahead.
Genesis 6:7. And Jehovah said, I will obliterate and human whom I created from the face of the ground, from human to beast to creeping animal to the bird in the heavens, and because I regret that I made these things. Jehovah said, I will obliterate the human, means that humanity would again, annihilate,
Annihilate.
annihilate.
Like annulled.
Annihilate.
Destroy. Annihilate. Annul, abolish.
Annihilate itself, whom I created from the face of the ground, symbolizes those who were descendants of the earliest church, from the human to beast to creeping animal, means that whatever was in their will would annihil-
Anaya. I. It's I. Anai.
an- annihilate, right?
Annihilate.
Annihilate, annihilate them. So the bird in the heavens means whatever was in their intellect or thoughts, because I regret that I made these things, symbolizes compassion as above. The meaning of Jehovah said, I will obliterate the human, as the fact that humanity would annihilate,
Annihilate.
annihilate.
Mhm.
Annihilate itself is established.
Maybe in dictionary. In dictionary, like maybe American pronunciation.
Annihilate.
Annihilate.
Annihilate. Annihilate.
Annihilate.
Itself is established.
by what was said above. That is, Jehovah the Lord is described as punishing, testing, doing evil, destroying or killing, and cursing. For instance, Jehovah is said to have killed Er, Judah's firstborn, and Onan, his second. Genesis 38:7 to and all the firstborn of Egypt. Jeremiah has an example, whom I have struck in my anger and in my wrath. In David, he sent against them in the wrath of his anger, his ire. Is it ire?
What is it? Yeah, I don't know.
Ire.
Ah, yeah. Fury, wrath. It's like anger too. I,
Like ire,
Ire.
ah, yeah.
ire,
Ah, yeah. His
ire,
eye.
his ire, and fury, and anguish, a delegation of evil angels. And is it Amos?
Yeah, I think Amos.
Is it
Amos. Mm-hmm.
Amos.
Amos?
Amos.
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 In Amos, will there be evil in the city, and Jehovah did not do it? In John, seven golden bowls, bowls full of anger of God, who lives forever and ever. All of these banes, is it
But
banes or bonds?
maybe buns.
Banes.
Banes.
Banes,
It's like
banes,
curse,
Banes.
poison.
misfortune, misfortune, poison, curse, like this. Perdition, perdition,
Perdition.
perdition, like damnation, doom.
All of these banes
Banes,
are
Banes, yeah, Banes.
banes.
Banes, yeah,
Banes.
Banes.
Banes are said to be from Jehovah, even though the truth is the exact opposite. The reason they are attributed to him was given above. A further purpose is to allow people to form first the very general idea that the Lord controls and arrange absolutely everything. Later, they can learn that nothing bad comes from the Lord. List of all murder. But that we humans are the ones who bring evil on ourselves and destroy and kill ourselves. Still, it is not we who do so, but evil spirits. How is it? How? Who? God? God?
I don't know.
Goad.
Goad,
God.
goad.
Inside.
Goad.
Well,
Goad like impel, like incentive, prod. It's like difficult word to explain. Impel. Do you understand this word?
mm-hmm.
You can see in dictionary. Maybe
God.
explanation of this word goad.
Goad.
Goad. To incite, to rouse as if with a goad. It's like maybe definition. Yeah, appointed as something that urges or stimulates into action. Yeah, yeah, maybe this is something that urges or stimulates into action. Okay. Like encourage. Goats, goat, goat.
Who goad us and lead us on. And yet it is we do so after all, because we fully believe it is. This is the reason, then, that the present verse says Jehovah would obliterate the human, when truly it is humans who destroyed and annihilated themselves. The actual situation is especially clear from those in the other life who undergo the tortures of hell. They are constantly weeping and blaming the Lord for all the negative cons- consequences of
Yeah. Let's see.
cons-
I forgot this word. Consequences.
Consequences.
It's like result. Mhm. Impact, result.
Result.
Result. Mhm. Consequences.
of their punishment. Those evil spirits in the realm of evil spirits who take pleasure, their greatest pleasure, in hurting and punishing others, lay the blame in the same place. The ones they wound and discipline think it is the Lord who does so. But I told them that show them that absolutely nothing bad comes from the Lord. On the contrary, I said, you bring the evil on yourselves. The way all things in this other life are arranged and balanced. Evil rebounds on the evildoer and turns into the miseries of punishment. This evil cannot be helped. It is described as being tolerated. Tolerated for the sake of evil's cure. But the Lord still converts all the negative consequences of punishment into good, so that nothing but goodness ever comes from him. What this kind of toleration is no one yet realm. Really, really
Re- Rebounds. Evil rebounds.
Rebounds.
reborn
Rebounds.
and return.
Rebounds.
It's like return, recovery, ricochet, ricochet,
Ricochet.
ricochet, ricochet, hmm. Ricochet. Actually, it's like rebounds. It's like in the sense bounce, jump. Ah, like jump, maybe. Evil rebounds. Yeah, like ricochet, ricochet, jump on the evildoer and turns into the miseries of punishment. Miseries.
Miseries.
Miseries. Is no one yet realize. Yeah, realize?
Realizes. No?
Maybe realizes.
Realizes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like
Realizes.
realizes. Yeah, I cannot translate this word because it's on 2 pages. Mhm.
All right.
Realize it.
People,
Yeah,
yeah.
am I correct?
I- People view the thing that is tolerated as having been carried out by the one who allows it, simply because he allows it. The reality, though, is quite different, as will be explained later, with the Lord's divine mercy. The symbolism of whom I created from the face of the ground of those who were descendants of the earliest church can be seen from several things. The first is that the text speaks of the human he created, that is, regenerated. The later of the human whom he made, that is, perfected, or in other words, regenerated to the point of becoming heavenly. The second is that it says from the face of the ground being the area where the church is, as shown earlier. Another indication is that the discussion treats of those who merge the teachings of faith with their appetites. People who had no access to the doctrine of the true faith could not commit this offense. Those outside the bounds of the church live in ignorance about what is true and good. And people who live in ignorance can have a certain kind of innocence, even when they say or do something that violates the truth and goodness of faith. They may be driven by a zeal or the worship that they grew up with and
I think this word you said driving, yeah, it's driven.
driven.
It's the third form of the verb. Oh,
driven,
driven.
Okay.
Maybe driven. It's like drive. And the bounds. Yeah, like boundary.
bounds,
Bounds. Mhm. Okay, next page.
And that they consequently consider true and good. The case is completely different with those who have the doctrine of the true faith among them. These are capable of mingling truth with falsity and holiness, with profanation, their lot
Profanation.
profanation. Their lot in the other life is accordingly much worse than the lot of those called Gentiles, who will be discussed below. The Lord in his divine mercy willing.
Capable of mingling. I forgot this word. Mingling.
mingling,
Mixing. Mingling.
mingling,
Mingling. Mixing. Mhm.
The meaning of from human to beast to creeping animal, as the fact that whatever was in their will would annihilate them can be seen from the symbolism of human, beast, and creeping animal. A human is human only by virtue of will and intellect. These faculties distinguish humans from animals. All other char- characteristics are shared between them. Among the people being described here, every impulse for good and every incline,
Mm.
inkling or incline,
Incline.
inkling,
In,
In,
inkling,
incline. Like suspicion.
inkling,
Suspicion.
suspicion,
Incline.
inkling of truth had died out. Insane longings arose to replace the will for good and absurd delusion to replace the comprehension of truth. And these delusions joined forces with those longings. So after these people had essentially, is it blotted or blotted?
Blotted. I think it's blotted.
blotted,
Blotted. Blotted. Blotted like erase. Mm, overshadow. And it's about water to like under rain, maybe.
blotted,
Blotted. But in this sense, so after these people had essentially blotted out. Blotted out, yeah, blotted out, like throughout, like, yeah,
blotted out,
like cast out, like this, blotted out.
Blotted out all remaining traces of will and intellect in this way. They themselves necessarily became extinct. Prior discussion of beasts, and creeping animals have established the fact that all aspects of the will are referred to as these creatures. Here, though, because of the nature of the people described, beasts do not symbolize positive emotions, but negative ones, and consequently corrupt desires. And creeping animals symbolize the lower pleasure, bodily and sensual pleasures. This is no further need for proof from the word that animals and reptiles have this symbolism, since example appear above in and PC there. For the symbolism of the bird in the heavens, as whatever was in their intellect or thoughts, again see above at 40.
Thank you. Who wants to read next? Verse Genesis 6:8, maybe. But Noah found favor in Jehovah's eyes. Noah symbolizes a new church. He found favor in Jehovah's eyes is the fact that the Lord foresaw that this was the way the human race could be saved. Noah symbolizes a new church called an ancient church in order to distinguish between the very earliest church, which preceded the flood, and the church that followed the flood. The states of these two churches were entirely different. That of the earliest church was to receive a perception of good and so of truth from the Lord. In the ancient church Noah, the state changed to one of conscience concerning goodness and truth. The difference between conditions in the earliest church and in the ancient church was the difference between having perception and having conscience. Perception is not conscience. Heavenly angels have perception, spiritual angels have conscience. The earliest church was heavenly, but the ancient church was spiritual. It means that perception is better than conscience. Yeah, I understand it. So, mhm. The earliest church was heavenly, but the ancient church was spiritual. The earliest church experienced direct,
Direct.
direct. The earliest church experienced direct revelation through personal contact with spirits and angels, and also through visions and dreams sent by the Lord. These gave them a general ability to recognize what was good and true, and having recognized this, they confirmed their gener- generalities. Generalities, I think.
Generalities.
Yeah, generalities, like general terms. Axioms, more or less by axioms.
Axioms.
Axioms, yeah. Postulate.
Postulate.
More or less by countless insights gained through perception. These insights constituted particular details filling in the broad categories to which they belonged. In this way, daily experience corroborated general principle.
Corroborated.
Confirm. Corroborated. General principle. Whenever they came across something that did not agree with general principle, they perceived that it was wrong, and whenever they came across something that agreed, they perceived that it was right. Heavenly angels are in the same state. The broad principles of the earliest church, its axioms, in effect, were heavenly, eternal truth. They included the idea that the Lord governs the universe, that He is the source of all goodness and truth and of all life, that our selfhood is pure evil, and of itself is dead, and other ideas like these. The people of the church received from the Lord a perception of countless thoughts supporting and harmonizing with these principles. To them, love was the most important element of faith. It was through love that the Lord enabled them to perceive everything belonging to faith, and so faith to them was love, as already stated. The ancient church, on the other hand, became totally different, as later sections will reveal, by the Lord's divine mercy. He found favor in Jehovah's eyes means that the Lord foresaw that this was the way the human race could be saved. The Lord's mercy concerns the salvation of the whole human race and looks toward this. His favor on or grace does too, which is why the human race's salvation is symbolized here. Noah symbolizes not only a new church, but also the faith of the church, the faith that came of charity. So the Lord foresaw that the human race could be saved by the faith that comes of charity. This, this faith will be described below. The word maintains a distinction between mercy and favor. However, that distinction depends on differences between the kinds of people who receive them. Mercy is appropriate to the heavenly and favor to the spiritual. The heavenly acknowledge nothing but mercy, while the spiritual acknowledge hardly anything but favor or grace. The heavenly have no idea what favor is. The spiritual scarcely know what mercy is, and consider it one and the same with favor. These differences result from attitudes of humility in each, which are equally different. Those who are humble at heart beg the Lord for mercy, while those who are humble in their thinking seeks His favor. If the latter pray for mercy, they do so in times of trouble, or else they do so with their lips rather than in their hearts. Since the new church called Noah was not heavenly but spiritual, it is said to have found not mercy but favor in Jehovah's eyes. The distinction that the word maintains between mercy and favor or grace can be seen in many places where Jehovah is called merciful and favorable, such as Psalms and Joel 2:13. The same distinction is preserved in other places too, such as Jeremiah. This is what Jehovah said: the population of those left by the sword has found favor in the wilderness, as he went to give rest to Israel. From far off Jehovah appeared to me, saying, and with eternal love I have loved you, therefore I drew you to me in mercy. Drew. Drew. How to pronounce?
Drew.
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 I drew.
Drew.
I drew. I drew. Therefore I drew you to me in mercy. Favor describes a spiritual quality and mercy a heavenly one. In Isaiah, therefore Jehovah will wait in order to show favor to you, and therefore he will lift himself up to have mercy on you. Favor again looks to a spiritual quality and mercy to a heavenly one. In the later part of Genesis, where Lot is talking to the angels, look, please, Your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have enlarged the mercy that you have shown me, keeping my soul alive. The fact that favor focuses on spiritual aims, which have to do with faith or the intellect, can be seen here too, where it says that someone found favor in your eyes. Mercy, however, focuses on heavenly aims, which have to do with love or the will, as can be seen from the statement that the aims focuses on heavenly aims.
Aims.
Yeah, it's a purpose. Angels had shown mercy and given life to his soul. These are the birds of Noah. Noah was a just, upright man in his generation. Noah walked with God. And Noah fathered 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the land was corrupt before God, and the land was full of violence. And God saw the land and found it was corrupt, because all flesh had made the way corrupt on the earth. And God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, since the land is filled with violence because of them, and indeed I am destroying them together with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Gopher wood. You must make compartments in the ark, and you must you must tar it inside and out with tar. Mhm. Tar. Yeah, I know what is tar.
Tar.
Tar. Tar with tar. And this is how you must make it. 300 cubits for the length of the ark, 50 cubits for its width, and 30 cubits for its height. You must make a window for the ark and complete it to a cubit above. And you must place a door for the ark in its side. Lowest, second level, and third level compartments you must make in it. And yes, I am bringing a flood of water on the earth to destroy all flesh, all that has the breath of life in it, from under the heavens. All that is on earth will pass away. And I will set up my pact with you, and you will enter the ark, you and your sons, and your wife, and your sons' wives with you, and of every living thing, of all flesh, you must bring pairs of each into the ark, to keep them alive with you. A male and a female they must be. Every kind of bird and every kind of beast, every kind of everything creeping on the ground, pairs of all must go into you to stay alive. And you take for yourself some food of every type that is eaten, and gather it to yourself, and it will serve you and them as food. And Noah did everything that God had commanded him. That is what he did. Mhm. Summary like this. Mhm. Go on street, maybe. Next.
I go.
Go ahead.
This is about the state of the church called Noah before rebirth. The people of that church are described as ones who could be reborn. Verse 9. Still, out of that church would rise 3 kinds of theology, and they are Sam, Ham, and Japheth. Verse 10. No other people from the earliest church would be capable of rebirth because of their fearsome convictions and unclean desires, through which they would utterly destroy themselves. Those in the church
I again forgot this word.
Convictions.
Convictions.
It's like belief. Convictions. So, conviction. Those the church.
Paul Noah, though were not like this, and they are portrayed by the ark. Their remaining traces of goodness and truth are described by the measurements. Different features of their intellect are de- depicted in
Depicted. It's about
de-
it's about picture. Depicted.
Depicted.
oh, okay.
Like described.
Depict. Okay.
Portray. You see portray is like picture.
Okay. Depicted. Okay. In the window, door, and compartments or decks. They would be preserved when everyone else perished in the flood of evil and falsity. The true thoughts and good impulse that they had would be salvaged. That is, the contents of the intellect and those of the will, and means would be regenerations. They would undergo preparations for the step, and so it happened.
Salvaged. It's about salvation. Yeah. Would be
Salvage.
salvaged. Yeah, it's about
Salvaged.
salvage.
Salvage.
Salvaged.
Okay.
Salvaged.
Yes.
Salvaged and
Saved.
saved.
Okay. Okay. Save. Salvage. All right.
Mhm.
Inner meaning. The present subject is the information
Formation.
is the formation of the new church called Noah. Its formation is the, the sorry
Depicted.
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 Okay. Depicted by the ark that took in living things of every kind. But before that new church could come into being, it was necessary, as it always is, for the people in the church to suffer further trials, portrayed
Portrayed.
portrayed by the rising, tossing, and long ride of the ark on the flood waters. Their eventual transformation into truly spiritual people and their deliverance are the so oh shit, I forgot.
De- depicted or depicted?
No,
D.
Depicted.
okay,
Depicted. Depicted.
depicted. Okay, depicted.
Transcription. Do you see transcription? Depicted.
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 Okay,
Depicted. Like
depicted.
depicted.
Okay, okay.
Ebbing. By the
Depicted
ebbing.
by yeah,
Ebbing.
ebbing,
Ebbing. Like weaken. I think
ebbing.
it's like fade away. Weaken.
Yeah, ebbing. Okay.
Weaken.
Ebbing.
By the ebbing of the water and other little details. No one who sticks exclusively to the literal meaning can see this message. The main reason is that all the elements link together to create a story present present the kind of picture that we expect from a narrative. The people of that time, though, had a manner of writing most pleasing to themselves. That cloaked
Clo-
everything.
clo- Clocked. What is clocked? Like clock.
Cloak. CL.
Mm.
Cloaked.
Yeah, it's about like clock. It's from clock, like mask, cover, clock. It's like
Conceal.
hidden.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hidden.
Cloaked.
Cloaked.
Cloak. Okay, that clothed everything in symbols, and they would assembly this into a history. The more consistent the thread of the story, the better it suited their way of thinking. The people of those long ago times, you see, did not spend so much time with uh, bare facts as people today do, but engage in deep thought which led to the fertile kind of results seen here. This was the wisdom of our ancestors. Modern
Ancestors.
ancestor ancestor. Modern scholar may be familiar with with the notion that the flood, yak, and consequently the descriptions of birth symbolize rebirth and and the struggle that led up to it. So they speak what's that?
Metaph-
Metaphorical.
metaphorically, like figuratively.
Metaphorically.
Metaphorically and
Metaphorical.
figuratively, like using figurative language, by using figures of speech like this.
Okay. Metaphorically.
Figuratively.
hmm
Figure.
Me-
Okay. Metaphorically.
metaphorically. Metaphoric.
Meta, metaphorically of regeneration and struggle as floods water. What follows will lay out the church nature in details. For now, I will present just a glimpse of it through these brief remarks. The earliest church was heavenly, as already noted. The church under discuss here, on the other hand, became spiritual. The earliest church had enjoyed a perception of goodness and truth. The church did not have perception, but another kind of inner voice instead that can be called conscious. But what the world does not yet know and may have difficulty believing is that the people of the earliest church uh, breathe internally any
Breathe.
external breathe
It's like
breathe
breathe. Breathe.
yeah
Breathed. E.
breathe
Like breathe.
Breathed.
yeah breathe.
Breathed.
Oh,
Breathe.
okay, breathe.
You
Okay,
said breath, but it's
yeah.
breathed.
Okay.
It's
Breathe internally and external breathing was silent. As a result, they also spoke less with words than people afterward did not still do. Instead, like the angels, they spoke in ideals and mental images, which they could communicate by endless changes in facial expressions, especially around the lips. This part of the faces has countless series of muscle fibers that today cannot work separately but in those times were independent of each other. Using this muscle, they were able to display, signal, and represent their ideas in such a way that we would now need an hour to express in articulated sounds. Would have taken them a minute, and they convey their messages to the grasp and real comprehensions of those present much more fully and clearly than words or sentences could ever do. This may seem impossible, and yet it is true. There are also many others not from this planet who spoke and still speaks in the same way, as will be described below, with the Lord's divine mercy. In fact, I have been able to learn about this internal breathing, breathing of theirs what it was like and how it changed over time. Since their respirations was like respiration of the angels, who breathed in similar ways. They had access to the
Access.
deeper access
Access. K.
Access.
access
Access.
access.
Mhm.
Okay.
Access
Mm,
like accessing.
entrance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had access to the deeper concepts involved in thought and were capable of a kind of perceptions that could never be described. And if its nature were described, no one would understand it, and therefore no one would it. Believe it. This internal breathing vanished little by little among their descendants in those consumed by horizons, delusions, and and fantasies. Such breathing lost the ability to present any thoughts to them. They were not hideously ugly. The effect of this change was so powerful that the people themselves could not longer survive, and so they were all wiped out. Yeah, thank you.
Ugly.
Ugly.
Mm-hmm. What is that? Ah,
Ugly.
it's like disgusting, terrible, ugly. Hideously, it's about hide, like hidden. Ah, no,
Hideously.
hideously. It's hideously. It's like disgustingly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Hideously.
You said hideously, yeah?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
hideously.
yeah. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
Okay, are you finished? Yeah, uh, or
Yeah,
are
I'm
you
done.
going to
Yeah.
continue?
Next
Ah,
person.
okay. Thank you. Your reading is very good. Mm-hmm. I will continue. As internal breathing waned, external breathing, almost of the kind we have today, gradually replaced it. With external breathing waned. What is waned?
Waned.
It's like weaken, diminish, waned. With external breathing came verbal speech, the speech of articulated sounds. This was now the vehicle for the individual ideas that make up thought. In the process, the human condition changed radically, maybe radically or radically.
Radically.
Yeah, radically. I know this one. Changed radically, people could no longer perceive things in the way that had before, but as a substitute for perception began to hear substitute.
Substitute.
It's like replacement. Substitute for perception began to hear another kind of inner voice that can be called the conscience. It is similar to conscience, although it was more or less a middle ground between perception and the conscience that some people today are familiar with. When the ideas that make up thought came to be poured into this type of mold, into spoken words, mold,
Mold.
mhm, mold. It's like rotten, anything, mold. Type of mold into spoken words that is human beings could no longer receive instruction by way of the inner self as the earliest people had, but only through the outer self. The revelations of the earliest church gave way to articles of doctrine which would first be grasped through the physical senses. These physical sensations would be shaped into concrete images in the memory and then reshaped into ideas, the components of thought. The ideas would provide an avenue and a framework for instruction. Concrete images. Mhm.
Concrete.
Concrete. It's like reality in the sense, concrete. So it was that this church was, which came after the earliest church, had a completely different kind of of psyche. Mhm. Different kind of psyche. It's like soul. Mhm.
Psyche.
Psyche. Had the Lord not imposed on the human race this new psyche or new approach, no one could ever have been saved. Again, because mhm. Again, because humankind's state of being in this church called Noah had altered completely from that in the earliest church, the race no longer could be taught or enlightened in the same way as the earliest people had been. The inner pathways were not blocked off, preventing any contact with heaven except that which lay hidden, no consciousness. No channel or instruction lay open but the external one through the senses as just noted. Accordingly, the Lord in his providence saw to it that the teachings of faith would be safeguarded for the use of this generation along with certain revelations made to the earliest church. Cain was the first to collect these teachings and preserve them against destruction. That is why Mark was said to have been put on him to prohibit his murder. Prohibit.
Prohibit.
Prohibit like ban, forbid. Prevent. Prevent. How to pronounce prevent?
Prevent.
Prevent. To prohibit his murder. For more on these things, see the discussion of Genesis. Later, Enoch reduced those teachings into a systematic theology. The theology was not at all useful to the people of that time, but only to a generation yet to come, which is why it is said that God took him. For more, see the discussion of Genesis. These are the teachings of faith that the Lord saved up for the use of the posterity. Posterity?
Posterity.
Posterity, like offspring. Future generations. Of the posterity of the church now being described, the Lord had foreseen that perception would die out and so had provided that the teachings would endure. Who is next?
I read.
I think it's the last verse maybe today.
Okay. Genesis 6:9. These are Noah was a just and upright man in his.
These are the birds
Oh, Noah.
of Noah. Mhm.
Noah was a just and upright man in his generation. Noah walked with God. The birds of Noah mean a description of the way the new church would be refashioned or reborn. Noah was a just and upright man in his generation, means that the church was one that could be endowed with feelings of charity. Just has to do with the good involved in charity. Upright with the truth involved. The generations is a stage of
Mhm. Religion.
religious development. Walking with God symbolizes the doctrine concerning faith here, as it did above, uh, as it as it did above, where Enoch was discussed. The meaning of the birds of Noah as a description of the way the new church would be refashioned or reborn can be seen from the things said above at Genesis 2, 4, and 5, 1. The meaning of Noah was a just and upright man in his generation, as the fact that the church was one that could be endowed with feelings of charity is established by the symbolism of just and upright. Being just has to do with the good involved in charity and upright, with the truth involved in it. The same meaning can also be seen from the distinguishing feature of the church, which was charity, as will be discussed later. With the Lord's divine mercy, the fact that being just has to do with the good involved in charity and upright with the truth involved in it can be seen from the word, as in Isaiah. They will seek me every day and desire a knowledge of my ways, as a nation that performs justice and does not abandon the rightful judgment of its God. They will ask me about judging justly. They will want God to come close. Judgment stands for the things advocated by truth, and justice for the things urged by good. Performing judgment and justice became a kind of standard formula that meant doing what is true and good. Examples appear in Isaiah. The Lord said, "The just will glow like the sun in my Father's kingdom. The, ju- the just stand for people endowed with charity." And in a passage concerning the end of the era.
Glow like shine, I think, yeah? It's about sun.
Yes.
Glow.
Glow, shine. hmm
The
The
angel
angels will go.
will go out and separate the evil from the midst of the just. Here too, the just stand for those who display the good that comes of charity. An upright person, however, symbolizes the truth that grows out of charity. Truth can originate in many other places, but truth that grows out of the good embraced by charity and received from the Lord. This truth is called whole or upright and is referred to as the upright individual or a person of integrity. One example appears in David. Those who will stay and live on your holy mountain are those walking in integrity and doing justice and speaking truth in their hearts.
Integrity. I forgot. Person of integrity.
Integrity.
It's like holiness, unity, honesty, purity, Mm-hmm. Integrity.
This portrays the upright person. In the same author, with a holy person you bear yourself in a holy manner. With the upright man you show yourself to be upright. The upright man is upright in consequence of the holiness of or goodness embodied in charity. In the same author, Jehovah will not withhold what is good from those who walk in integrity. The upright individual is one whose goodness inspires to be truthful, or in other words, a person who speaks and acts on truth out of love for others. And this is clear from the way the word speaks of uprightness. Often it uses the words walk, path, or way, and right or sorry, what's this?
What is it? Rectitude,
Rectitude.
maybe.
Rectitude.
Yeah, rectitude. Rectitude is like rightness, honesty,
Honesty.
correctness, morality, high morality, hmm rectitude.
Rectitude.
hmm It's like right. Right, do you see? It says right or rectitude. It's like
Rectitude,
the same thing.
yes. In connection with the upright person or with integrity. And these words relate to truth in David. For instance, I will instruct the upright person about the path, how long it takes to reach me. I will walk in the integrity of my heart, the middle of my house. In the same psalm, the one who walks the path of the upright person, that is the one who will wait on me. Elsewhere, in the same author, a blessing on those who are upright in their path, walking in Jehovah's law. In the same author, integrity and rectitude will guard me. Again, in the same author, observe what is upright and watch what is right, because a man's final possession is peace. All of this establishes the fact that justice is ascribed on one who does what is good, and uprightness to one who acts on the truth that springs from goodness. And this is the same as performing justice and judgment. Holiness and justice are the heavenly aspect of faith, while integrity and judgment are the spiritual aspect that develops out of the heavenly aspect. The fact that the generation is a stage of religious development is not evident from the literal sense, which tells a story, because the message here is exclusively an inner one, though what are symbolized are attributes of faith. The thread of the story too shows that generation must be a stage of religious development. Several other places in the word also use generation this way. In Isaiah, for example, may they rebuild from to age-old wastelands. The foundations of generation after generation may you raise up, and the name given to the one who will the one who walls up the breach, the one who brings
Also breach.
Breach.
It's like break,
violation.
gap.
See?
hmm Violation.
The one who brings back the paths to dwell by. And the elements of this verse symbolize aspects of faith. The age-old was uh, wastelands symbolize faith's heavenly qualities, laid waste. The foundations of generation after generation symbolize the foundations of faith's spiritual qualities. This had gone to ruin since ancient times, as is also symbolized in the same author. They will rebuild the age-old wastelands. The earlier desolate places they will raise up, and they will renew the wasted cities. The, de- the desolate places of generation after generation. The meaning here is similar in the same author. They will not labor for empty purpose and will not bear children for turmoil. Turmoil.
Turmoil. It's like ruin, maybe. I forgot this word. Ah,
Turmoil.
it's like chaos. Chaos. Panic. Mess. Turmoil.
Because they are the seed of those blessed by Jehovah, as are their descendants with them. Here, too, the bearing of children is ascribed to the properties of faith and labor. To the properties of love, the latter are described as the seed of those blessed by Jehovah, former as offspring. To see that walking with God symbolizes the doctrine concerning faith, look at the look at their look at earlier statements about Enoch at Genesis 5:24. He too said, he too was said to have walked with God, which there symbolize the doctrine of faith preserved for the use of later generations. Since this is the generation destined to use it, the the praise recurs here. The present verse offers a general picture of the people of this church, not what they were already like, but what they could become. Future chapters deal with the actual formation of their character of this character. Specifically, through religious knowledge, they would be able to receive the gift of charitable feeling. In the in this way, they would be able to act out of charity, and the goodness connected with the charity would allow them to recognize what was true. So the goodness of charity, being just, comes first, and the truth of charity, being upright, second. Charity, as noted before, is love for our fellow human beings and is mercy. It is a lower grade of love than that which marked the earliest church, whose love was directed toward the Lord.
hmm
Okay. As you can see, love is now declining and becoming shallower. So that is so that it has to be termed charity.
hmm hmm Thank you very much.
Termed.
Calmed. Calmed. Okay. This reading is over.
Bye.
And
Thank you.
see you.
Yeah,
Cheers.
thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Mhm.
Bye, guys. See you tomorrow.